Okay, today I want to talk about a quotation from Dr. Haridas Chaudhuri. I found this quotation a few years ago when I was writing my book, The Miracle of Death, and I talk about it in the 5th chapter. This is the quotation: "We need a worldview which shows us how our deepest aspirations are related to the essential structure of the universe." This is, to my mind, a beautiful and profound statement of the New Worldview. And I love how he says we need a worldview that shows us, not a worldview that asks us to accept it on belief, but a worldview in which we can understand how it really is true that the things that we aspire to from the depths, from the very core of ourselves, is really the universe aspiring through us. That is the essential structure of the universe. Now, this is in complete opposition to what the old worldview has told us for a few hundred years. It isn't that scientists conspired to make us miserable with a worldview that we no longer want to hold. It simply was that the data, which was correct data, it just was limited data. And now, since the development of quantum physics, we now know that that data was in fact limited, and we now see a vast and profound universe that we could not even have imagined before. In fact, Lynn McTaggart says in her book, The Field, A Quest for the Secret Force of the Universe, that there is a revolution taking place in science that will change everything we thought we knew about reality. Well, let's just look at the old worldview just for a moment. We know what it is, but let's just give a few of the major points. In the old worldview, we were told, and most of us believed, at least at some point in our lives we probably believed, that there was nothing but matter. There was matter, that was the universe, and when matter died, everything was over. It was a fluke. It was a mistake. We were a fluke of nature. And we had no meaning and no purpose. We could observe nature, we could observe life, but we had no way of creating anything. We simply were observers. Now, also, and what we all know about that worldview is that robs us of our creativity, and it also robs us of our deepest aspirations. Because if we just think for a moment, what is one of the deepest aspirations that we have? And it's really almost always related to love. When we love a person, we are profoundly connected. And when that person dies, the old worldview tells us that's the end of it. That's the end of everything you ever loved, of every experience that you had. And eventually, when you die, it will be the end of all of the memories. That worldview has fragmented us, wounded us, hurt us deeply. Let's look now at this new worldview. Lynn McTaggart also says in her book that scientists working independently all around the world are really discovering incredible things about the universe as a result of quantum physics. In this worldview, which actually can show us conceptually, intellectually, how our deepest aspirations are in fact related to the universe, to the essential structure of the universe. Because they now know that we live in a quantum field. It is the field of all fields. It's a field, say the scientists, of energy and light and information, consciousness that is eternal. Eternal. This is something that we couldn't imagine before, that it is interconnected, that everything that is living, everything is in this field of all fields, and it is interconnected and able to communicate with every other aspect of itself. Now, if that's true, then we can certainly rejoice, because that tells us that we obviously are a part of this field, And we too can communicate with all aspects within the field. Now, mystics have always known this, but this is what the scientists tell us. But mystics have always known, and now there are millions of people who are at least having glimpses of this field, and they tell us we are in the field always. We just have to open ourselves to be conscious of this field. And it is a field, they say, of energy, total inclusiveness, of light, but they would say the very core of this field, that what permeates the field and therefore permeates everything in the field is love. That is the essential structure of the universe, and all follows from that. So let's just ask ourselves, how does that really affect me? Well, it changes everything, doesn't it? Because first of all, both the scientists and the mystics tell us consciousness comes before matter. Consciousness, the mind of the universe, and that mind works through us because we're part of the mind of the universe, creates matter. Our thoughts, our feelings create matter. In the old worldview, we really couldn't explain how matter came into being. It was just a fluke. It was, and not how matter came into being, that was a difficult problem too, but how consciousness came into being. We simply said it was just a fluke of matter, but it was a product of matter. Well, that's not what we're thinking now. That's not what the new science tells us. Consciousness is primary, and it creates matter, and consciousness is eternal. Consciousness is the quantum field, and we are a part of that field, that knowledge, that information, that consciousness is constantly flowing through us. So let's look at that quotation just once again. We need a worldview. Well, we need to become aware of the worldview that is coming into being today as a result of quantum physics, because it does show us how consciousness is primary and how everything that we aspire to is the universe aspiring through us. So how does it affect us individually? It means that we need to tend to these deepest feelings of the heart, these deepest aspirations in us. We can't just dismiss them. Before we were told, bite the bullet, deal with it, forget it, that's the way reality is. Now we know that if we really get in touch with those deepest aspirations, we will be getting in touch with the deepest part of who we are, and that is the mind of the universe.